Had some, I guess, when he went to invest, he didn't do very well in the stock market, but he did really well with real estate. Because at the time, in the mid to late 60s, land here in Orange County was still pretty inexpensive.
Okay.
The big population push from LA was just starting, but there was still a lot of open land down here. I mean, a lot of orange groves, things like this. So Leo bought a good chunk of this land. That's one of the reasons that's Fender Avenue, is that Fender Avenue only runs from the street over there. I mean, it's basically 2 miles long. So they renamed it Fender Avenue, I think in about 1970, 1971. So he built a lot of these buildings, and you know, now you see these industrial kind of buildings all the time. The little office in front, the workshop in back, and so he built a lot of this stuff because he hadn't really started making guitars yet, but he had when he left Fender, he had a 5-year non-compete clause. So he had to stay out of the guitar business, but he had all this junk, he had just stuff that he wanted to do and tinker around with. So he had rented a building here in Fullerton and then built these and basically gave himself a little sandbox to play in over here. So as soon as that non-compete thing was done, he'd already started working on some of the ideas that became the Music Man instruments. So this was originally called CLF Research, Clarence Leo Fender, and CLF Research was the company that made Music Man. There was really never a Music Man guitar factory. Leo made them here, and Leo liked the idea of having one customer. So he made them and sold them to the guys at Music Man, and Music Man were down in Anaheim, not really very far from the convention center.
Did it exist, that Music Man?
No, he was kind of a partner. I don't know what the exact relationship was. He didn't, I don't think, really want to get involved too much from a business standpoint. I think he was much happier. He probably had a percentage of the business, but I don't think he really took quite the ownership of it. And then after a few years, he and the guys at Music Man were having kind of some disagreements about what the products were going to be. Leo wanted to do his thing, and they wanted to go someplace else, so they split. And that was about the time when Leo brought George Fullerton back into this, and then they started G&L. So in 1980, so I think they made Music Man for about I think the first Music Mans were about 1976. Somewhere around there. So they did that about 4 years. We even have a couple of old photographs where you can see in the production racks both G&L and Music Man guitars being made on the same day. So there was kind of a transition, and we've still got some of the old CLF Research drawings that George and Leo did of some of like Music Man bass bridges and things like that. So that's kind of a cool little bit of the history. So they've been making guitars here in this area since about 76. Now the old Fender factory was just, I mean, a mile and a half from here. The major street just down that way, State College, the old Fender factory is on the other side of that. So this was Leo's area. I mean, he went to Fullerton High School, and I mean, back when this area was really rural, because this was an agriculture area. And you know, now from here getting into Los Angeles is no big deal. Back 40, 50 years ago, yeah, it was a much bigger hassle. But when Leo was a kid and out here, I mean, that was like, whoa, that was like almost like an overnight trip.